Hi, this is Vince Icuri. Maybe some of you recognize me from my other 580 videos I have on YouTube. I'm branching out into one of my other loves and a skill that I developed to say back in the 60s, which is welding. I started out gas welding, and I was able to build hot rods back in the late 50s, early 60s, and then I branched out and I went into the Air Force, and I was trained as a aircraft mechanic crew chief on a fighter aircraft, and then I went back to school on the B-52s, the 8-engine bomber. Anyway, I'm doing a test now. I got the camera set up, distance. I have a fan over here, an exhaust fan blowing up, and there's a roof fan. When I do welding, the fumes, so forth, this way I can move it away from, hopefully getting into my helmet. Now, I want to. I'm trying to talk a little above normal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this off, and I want to see if it makes a difference with my speech. I still have an electric heater above me over here, so here goes. I'm just doing some tests. I'm going to zoom in, like I will be doing when I do my videos, bring it into a certain distance. Now, some of the things I'm going to show is what we used to clean aluminum in the Air Force was a special cotton that was developed in the 40s. It was developed and manufactured in Farmingdale, Long Island, back in the 40s. And some of the things I like to show here is I'll be doing inside this building, inside this studio, I'll be doing TIG welding. Now, for those who know or those who don't know, this is a non-flexible head TIG torch, and this happens to be a gas lens torch. This is a gas lens. It's about as close as I can get. That's a gas lens right in there, and this is a CK brand gas lens. They have 8 screens in here, one on top of the other, and the argon comes in the gun through the argon tube, and it's dispersed through brass nozzles with holes drilled all around it. There might be 8 holes, and then it goes through the screen, and it gives you a nice flow, controlled flow. Now, here's a number 7 cup. The 7 stands for 7/16 of the aperture of the actual opening. Here is the number 7. Gas lens enables you to have a longer stick out, 3/4, even an inch, if this is large enough, and you got the gas, the argon turned high enough, or you got a flow coming out enveloping the particular area that you're welding. And the one thing that's good about the extra long stick out is if, for example, you're welding up tubing that has a cluster, and you have to get in between where the pipes join. You want to get down in there, be able to see the arc in the puddle, and of course feed the rod. Now, I have aluminum here on the table. It's weldable 60 61, and this happens to be 3/4 inch thick. And the samples that are on here are samples of a contaminated tungsten, which I will be showing. In other words, you trying to weld, you set up your machine. If you're new, you don't know really where to put it as far as amperage. And the machine that I'm using is a modern inverter style machine, and it has all the features. It's AC, DC, it has a pulse, upslope, downslope, and it's an Everlast model Power TIG 255 EXT. It's 250 amp AC and DC, and it has all the different parameters within it. This particular machine also is 110, 220, but I run it on the 220. Okay, so that was a test of my audio transmission to my camera. I'm going to turn this back on. Get a little more noise over here. I just want to see if my voice breaks up. I'm speaking the same level, and I'm going to be doing various projects. I enjoy welding. I love welding. I used to make tools with it, and so forth and so on. I can show you some of the little things. All right. Here's two things I made while, like I said, I'm a mechanic by training, and particularly aircraft. I'm FAA certified. I was certified in 1962, and I had to qualify, had to get my certification, gas welding. I had a gas weld a chrome moly cluster. A cluster weld is like they use on making fuselages on the older aircraft. All right, now here's a tool. Here's a tool I made up. When I do maintenance, sometimes you're out on the field, you're trying to get a screw out, and I made this particular tool. And sometimes you want to take the screw out, and also you want to tap the hole. So I made this up here using a drive, a 3/8 drive, and this I used to put in the speed handle. I had a big heavy-duty speed handle. In fact, I used to use a 1/2 inch with the adapter on it down from 1/2 pin to 3/8, and it had the big like knob on the top, and you could really put your weight on it. So if I was drilling out something, I would have the required drills. Just say a 1032 screw, I had to drill it out. I would get smaller bits. We would use the cobalt built bits, the high speed or ace. And of course, I'd open this up. I'd put the bit in, and to keep this from sliding around a round bit, in the old days we used to use valve grinding compound, which was a grit in just say water. And I would put the drill bit in there, the flange, and I'd lay it in there a little bit, tighten this up, and that would hold the bit. And then of course I would turn the hand tool, speed handle they call it, and I would drill the hole out, and then I would put in here an easy out tool. The easy out tool, they come in different sizes. and of course it gives you the drill number on it ordinarily. So you would put this in here and tighten it up, and then I would put this into the hole that I drilled, and I would wrap this with a hammer a little bit. You know, you can see it's been hit, and this would sink this down, and then of course you would take it out, turning counterclockwise with the speed handle, and usually when we get the screw out, then if necessary I'd put just say a 1032 tap or a quarter 20 tap in there, and I would run it through and clean the hole out. So that's just some of the things. Then I was a truck mechanic in addition to being an aircraft mechanic. I had my own business, one-man show, and we got it might have been a Mercedes with the metric, and I was trying to do an oil change on it, and I had nothing to take out the big plug, and I'm sure it was tight. So I had a big metric nut that fit up into that opening. I needed a very big Allen. I mean, I needed an Allen this big. All right, so I had this particular bolt. All right, I screwed it in, and then I welded this, of course, around the top over here. So that lasted me for years and years. I had all the strength I needed to take the big plugs out. So that's just some of the things you can do with welding, per se. In other words, I had gas, and gas cutting and gas welding, and I had DC electric welding. It was a generator. I built a DC welding machine out of a aircraft generator. It was a DC starter generator. And what that meant was that you would use the 24-volt batteries in the aircraft to turn the starter. Starter would start the engine. Once the engine came up to speed, now it's spinning this starter that would stay engaged, and that would become a generator. So it had the ability to put out 40 open circuit volts, which that meant was that when you had it cranked up, this would put out 40 amps. So I had to regulate the amperage control using a big ballast that I was able to get, and I had to vary the RPM. Then I had a shunt. I'm going to show you what a shunt is. I had I think it was a 500 amp shunt. Now this is a 250 amp shunt, and of course you put the respective terminals enough to carry the amperage that you're going to be utilizing. And the way this works is that your amperage goes through here, and this is a special metal that you get. The fact that there's a little resistance here, it puts a voltage out. There's a nut here. There's a nut here, which is positive, and this is negative. Now, there are gauges that they work in millivolt, right? Just say full scale is 50 millivolt, right? So when this thing here, just say is pulling through it 100 amps, you're going to get a little millivoltage out through these two, through the meter, and that would register, if everything's accurate and calibrated, that would register you're pulling 100 amps. So I used to utilize RPM and something like this, only it was a 500 amp unit. It might have been 400. I sold it. In fact, I sold it before I went in the airport. No, after, beg your pardon. After, when I come out. I built that when I come out of the Air Force. Okay? So that's a shunt. And, you know, that's some of the things you could do with welding, build, fabricate, make roll cam. I once made my sons, when they're 15, 16, 17, I made them heavy-duty weightlifting bench. When I say heavy-duty, I was a power lifter, and I was like one of the few guys in Brooklyn that could bench press 400 pounds. Had a body weight of just around 198. And I built a bench that I was able to do easy 400 pounds on. So I built that. I might have been 44 years old, because I got pictures of that. And I built the bench, and I was still able to do 365 pounds for 5 reps. And my son, who is 47 now, was 16 then. That impressed him, because he was spotting me. And so he wound up becoming a power lifter also. Very powerful guy who surpassed me, you know, which every father would always like to see his son do good. So anyway, that's my line of shit. And you know, hopefully you can learn a little something, or maybe we have a little fun as I make the video. So I got a lot of tools, I got a lot of skills. I forgot more stuff than most people know. Let's put it that way. I worked on fighter aircraft B-52s and other things while in the Air Force. Then when I got in American Airlines, I was trained. Even though you're FAA certified, you have to be trained on their aircraft. And 727s, 707s, 747s, the DC-10s, the DC-8s, MD-11s, and you know, you name it. We went to school, and I was also an aircraft, what they call avionics, after maybe 1970. I started in '66 with American, and it might have been 1978. I got in on the avionics portion of aircraft maintenance, which is aviation electronics, autopilot, radar, electrical wiring, and all the gauges and everything else, the electrical AC and DC on the aircraft. So I excelled in that, and then I became crew chief of the mechanics, A&P mechanics, and the avionics. And then my last 15 years I went into quality control. I became an inspector. So I have a total of 50 years in aviation. Prior to that, automotive. I used to build hot rods, and I still love working with my hands and tools, and you know, and I have a lot of skill, like I said, woodworking. I'm also a union carpenter, local 7, a full book. So anyway, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, and on this video, in the top of the right hand top corner, you'll see my face. If you click on that, it'll take you to the main channel that I have, where there's about 680 HD videos, and a lot of it is on the vintage sewing machine repair, the sewing machines that I eventually bought. I always liked power, you know, so a lot of my machines I show sewing 8 layers, 10 layers of denim, you know, the power that the machine has. The other thing, I loved art, so I got into embroidering. I got into the digitizing the artwork that goes into the embroidery machine that the machine reads the digitized. Very interesting. I love all this stuff, but I could talk forever. Anyway, if you like what you see, subscribe, and hopefully a couple of videos a week. Vince Curie, thank you for watching.